There's a strange kind of joy that arrives the moment you stop chasing it. You stop forcing yourself to feel happy. Stop hunting for the next thing that will finally make you complete. Stop desperately trying to manufacture good feelings. And suddenly, quietly, happiness appears. Not because you earned it through effort, but because you finally stopped blocking it with your desperate search. Happiness, for all its promises, becomes a trap when you chase it. The more you try to capture it, the faster it runs. The tighter you grip positive thinking, the more it slips through your fingers like water. You exhaust yourself trying to feel good, forcing smiles, pretending everything is fine. And all the while, genuine joy remains just out of reach. But when you begin to let go, when you stop treating happiness as something to achieve and start allowing it as something to receive, everything shifts. The current changes. Life, in its quiet wisdom, begins aligning moments of genuine contentment with you, not because you forced them into existence, but because you finally made space for them to arrive naturally. Buddhism has known this truth for thousands of years. That happiness isn't something you pursue. It's something that finds you when you stop running. It's not a destination you arrive at through effort. It's a natural state you return to when you release the control, the forcing, the exhausting attempt to feel a certain way. In this video, I'm going to share 6 profound Buddhist teachings that will transform how you experience joy. These aren't motivational tricks or positive thinking techniques. They're ancient truths about why the chase itself is what keeps you from what you're chasing, about why trying to be happy is often the very thing preventing your happiness. Let's discover the freedom that waits on the other side of trying. The first truth Buddhism reveals is uncomfortable. The very act of chasing happiness is what pushes it further from your reach. Not because happiness is cruel or playing hard to get, but because the energy of chasing creates the feeling of not having. And you cannot feel abundant while you're convinced you're in lack. Think about it. When you're desperately trying to be happy, what are you actually telling yourself? That you're not happy now, that something is missing, that your current state is wrong and needs fixing. Every effort to force happiness is built on the foundation of, I am not enough as I am right now. And the mind, brilliant as it is, hears this message. It registers the lack. It focuses on the gap between where you are and where you think you should be. And that gap, that sense of not yet there, becomes your dominant experience. You're so busy chasing the idea of happiness that you miss the small moments of joy already present in your life. Buddhism teaches about tanha, the concept of craving or thirst. It's not desire itself that causes suffering. It's the desperate clinging to outcomes, the insistence that things must be different than they are for you to be okay. When you chase happiness with this energy, you're running on the fuel of not enough, and that fuel can only take you to more not enough. The more frantically you pursue joy, the more you confirm to yourself that you don't have it. The harder you try to feel good, the more aware you become of not feeling good. It's like trying to fall asleep by forcing yourself to sleep. The effort itself creates the tension that prevents the very thing you're seeking. Consider the person who's constantly reading self-help books, attending workshops, practicing gratitude with gritted teeth, forcing themselves to think positive thoughts. They're working so hard to be happy, and yet, often, they're more stressed than ever because they've made happiness into another task to complete, another goal to achieve, another way they're currently failing. Buddhism would gently ask them, what if happiness isn't something you achieve? What if it's something you allow? What if the trying itself is the problem? When you chase happiness, you create a relationship with it based on lack and need. You position yourself as incomplete and happiness as the missing piece. And from that position, you can never quite reach it because the foundation is wrong. You're seeking externally what can only be found internally. But what happens when you stop chasing? When you release the grip on needing to feel a certain way? When you simply allow yourself to be exactly as you are right now without the pressure to be happier? Something remarkable. The space you create by not chasing becomes the space where happiness can naturally arise. The energy you were spending on pursuit becomes available for presence, and in presence, without the noise of trying, you start to notice what was there all along. Small joys, simple pleasures, moments of peace that don't require achievement. The chase was blocking your view. When you stop running, you finally see what's been following you the whole time. Here's the second paradox Buddhism illuminates. When you force yourself to be positive, to think happy thoughts, to maintain constant cheerfulness, you create an internal resistance that actually blocks genuine joy from flowing. Your emotions are like water. They need to flow. When you dam them up with forced positivity, when you tell yourself you shouldn't feel sad or angry or disappointed, you create stagnation. And in that stagnation, nothing healthy can grow, not even happiness. This is different from choosing a positive perspective or practicing gratitude authentically. Buddhism isn't against genuine appreciation or wise mindset, but it sees through the violence of forcing yourself to feel something you don't actually feel. The aggression of telling yourself, I should be happy, when sadness is what's true. Think about toxic positivity. It's the insistence that you must always look on the bright side, always find the lesson, always be grateful, always stay positive. It sounds nice, but underneath it is a rejection of your actual human experience, a denial of the full range of emotions that make you whole. When you force happiness, you split yourself. Part of you is trying to feel good. The other part feels whatever it actually feels. And those two parts go to war. The trying to be happy part attacks the feeling something else part. It judges it, resists it, tries to push it away. And this internal conflict is exhausting. Buddhism teaches that what you resist persists. When you resist your sadness by forcing positivity, the sadness doesn't leave. It goes underground. It becomes chronic. It colors everything even as you smile on the surface. You end up anxious about being sad, stressed about not being happy enough, guilty for feeling down. The pressure to be happy creates its own suffering. You're not just dealing with whatever natural emotion arose. You're now also dealing with the shame of not meeting your happiness expectations, the failure of not being positive enough, the fear that something is deeply wrong with you. And here's the cruel irony. Genuine happiness is light. It's effortless. It arises naturally when conditions are right, like a flower blooming. But forced positivity is heavy. It requires constant effort, constant monitoring, constant adjustment. You're working so hard to feel something that, by nature, should be easy. Buddhism offers a different path. Allow what is. If sadness is present, let it be present. If disappointment shows up, give it space. Don't force it away with fake happiness. Don't resist it with positive affirmations you don't believe. Just let it move through you, like weather moving through the sky. Because here's what happens in that allowing. The emotion, no longer resisted, completes its natural cycle. It arises, it exists, it passes, and in that passing, genuine peace emerges. Not forced positivity, not manufactured happiness, but real inner calm that comes from being integrated, not split. When you stop forcing happiness and start allowing all of your experience, something shifts. You stop being at war with yourself. You stop judging every feeling as right or wrong. You become spacious enough to hold whatever arises without needing to change it. And in that spaciousness, in that gentle acceptance of what is, happiness finds room to show up. Not because you demanded it, but because you stopped blocking it with resistance. The path to joy runs through the acceptance of sorrow, not around it, through it. The third Buddhist teaching cuts even deeper. The belief that you should be happy is itself a source of unhappiness. Not the desire for happiness, but the demand, the rigid expectation, the cruel should that you use to beat yourself with. How many times have you thought, I should be happy? I have so much. Other people have it worse. What's wrong with me? That thought feels responsible, mature, grateful, but Buddhism sees what it really is. Violence against yourself. Every time you tell yourself you should feel differently than you do, you create suffering. You take your actual experience and label it wrong. You take your genuine self and reject it. And that rejection, that non-acceptance of what is, that's where suffering lives. The shoulds are endless. You should be happy because you have a good job. You should be grateful because you have health. You should feel blessed because you have family. You should be content because others have less. And underneath every should is the same message. What you're actually feeling is not okay. Buddhism asks, who decided you should be happy right now? Where did that rule come from? Who wrote the law that says your natural emotional state is wrong? The truth is, happiness comes and goes like everything else. It arises when conditions support it. It fades when conditions change. This is the nature of all experiences. They're temporary, impermanent, always shifting. But the mind doesn't want to accept this. It wants to capture happiness and make it permanent. It wants to control your emotional state. So it creates these rigid expectations, these shoulds, these demands that you feel a certain way, regardless of what life is bringing. And the more you cling to the idea that you should be happy, the more you suffer when you're not. you're not just experiencing whatever natural difficulty is present, you're also experiencing the failure of not meeting your own happiness expectations. Double suffering. Double the pain of the situation plus the pain of judging yourself for not being happy about it. Buddhism teaches radical acceptance, not resignation, not giving up, but acceptance of what is actually true in this moment. If sadness is here, sadness is here. If disappointment has arrived, disappointment has arrived. This is what is. Fighting it doesn't change it. It just adds another layer of suffering on top. When you let go of the should be happy, something remarkable happens. The pressure releases. You stop being your own critic. You stop measuring your emotional state against some imaginary standard. You allow yourself to be human, to have days that are hard, to have moments that are gray, to have feelings that aren't photogenic. And in that allowing, in that release of the demand, there's immediate peace. Not the happiness you were trying to force, but something deeper. Acceptance, self-compassion, the relief of finally being okay with not being okay. From that foundation of acceptance, genuine happiness has space to arise. Not because you demanded it, not because you should feel it, but because you created the inner environment where it can naturally grow. The peace of not needing to be happy is often deeper than the happiness you were chasing. And from that peace, real joy emerges, effortlessly, naturally, without trying. Buddhism's fourth lesson reveals why your attempts to control your emotional state keep backfiring. Because life has a rhythm, a natural ebb and flow, and you're trying to be happy all the time is like trying to keep the ocean at high tide forever. It's fighting against the nature of things. Everything in existence moves in cycles. Day turns to night. Seasons change. The moon waxes and wanes. Your breath flows in and out. And just like this, your emotional state naturally fluctuates. Sometimes joy, sometimes sadness, sometimes excitement, sometimes calm. This isn't a problem to solve. It's the rhythm of being alive. But the mind doesn't like this. It wants control. It wants to take the moments of happiness and make them permanent. It wants to eliminate the downs and keep only the ups. So it tries. It tries to manufacture good feelings. It tries to push away bad ones. It tries to control the uncontrollable. And this trying creates a constant tension. You're always working against the natural flow, always swimming upstream, always fighting what is to make it into what you think it should be. And that fight, that resistance to life's rhythm, is exhausting. It's like trying to stop the tide with your hands. Buddhism teaches trust, not blind faith, but trust in the wisdom of natural processes. Trust that life knows what it's doing. Trust that the lows serve a purpose just like the highs. Trust that you don't need to control every wave to stay afloat. When you trust life's rhythm, instead of fighting it, you stop trying to force happiness. You stop demanding that every moment feel good. You understand that sometimes life brings challenges. Sometimes it brings rest. Sometimes celebration. Sometimes quiet. And all of it is part of the natural flow. This doesn't mean you become passive. It means you stop exhausting yourself trying to control what you cannot control. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop demanding that reality be different than it is. You work with the rhythm instead of against it. Think about a surfer. They don't control the waves. They can't make the ocean do what they want, but they've learned to read the rhythm, to move with it, to find the flow and ride it. When a wave comes, they ride it. When it passes, they wait for the next one. They're active, engaged, but not controlling. This is how Buddhism invites you to relate to happiness. Stop trying to force it to appear. Stop trying to make it stay. Trust that it will come when conditions are right. Trust that it will go when its time is done. Trust the natural rhythm. When you release control and trust the flow, something shifts in your whole being. The constant tension relaxes. The fight stops. You find yourself able to be present with whatever is without needing it to be different. And in that presence, in that trust, happiness finds you more often, not because you're controlling it, but because you're no longer blocking it with your attempts to control. You've aligned with the rhythm instead of fighting it. The river of life flows. You can exhaust yourself trying to push it upstream, or you can trust the current and let it carry you. Here's the fifth Buddhist truth that changes everything. There's a difference between aligned action and desperate effort, between doing things that naturally support happiness and frantically trying to manufacture it. And understanding this difference is the key to effortless joy. Aligned action comes from presence. You notice what genuinely nourishes you. A walk in nature, a quiet morning, time with someone you love. creating something with your hands. And you choose these things not because they'll make you happy, but because they're genuinely calling to you in this moment. This is different from desperate effort. Desperate effort is forcing yourself to do things you think should make you happy. Going to the party because happy people go to parties. Saying yes when you mean no because nice people don't disappoint others. Smiling when you're sad because positive people stay upbeat. Pushing, forcing, trying to be someone you're not. Buddhism calls aligned action skillful means, or right action. It's action that flows from wisdom, not from fear, from presence, not from control, from genuine care, not from desperate need. When you take aligned action, there's an ease to it. Even if it's hard work, there's a rightness. You're moving with your nature, not against it. You're honoring what's true, not performing what you think should be true. And in that alignment, joy naturally arises, not as a goal you're chasing, but as a byproduct of being genuine. But desperate effort feels different. It's heavy, forced, exhausting. You're constantly monitoring. Am I happy yet? Is this working? Should I be feeling better by now? The trying itself creates tension, and tension blocks the very flow you're seeking. Think about someone trying desperately to have fun. They're at a party they thought they should attend. They're talking to people, drinking, laughing at jokes. But inside, they're working, performing, checking. Am I having fun yet? This should be fun. Why isn't this fun? And the whole time, genuine joy is impossible because they're too busy trying to force it. Now imagine someone who chose to stay home, read a book, drink tea, not because it's more virtuous, but because that's what genuinely called to them in that moment. They're aligned, and in that alignment, there's peace, maybe even quiet joy, not because they were trying, but because they were honest. Buddhism teaches that happiness is a natural byproduct of living in alignment with your truth. When you're honest with yourself, when you honor your actual needs, not the needs you think you should have, when you follow genuine yes and genuine no, when you stop performing and start being. This doesn't mean you never do hard things. It means you stop doing things from the energy of, this should make me happy. You act from clarity, from wisdom, from presence, and you trust that happiness will arise naturally when you're living aligned with truth. The desperate chase for happiness keeps you in future, always seeking the next thing that will finally complete you. But aligned action brings you to now, to this moment, to what's actually true. And in that now, in that truth, genuine contentment lives. Stop trying to be happy. Start being honest. The happiness will follow. The final Buddhist teaching brings it all together. The moment you truly stop chasing happiness, you open yourself to receiving it, not as something you grasp, but as something that flows to you naturally, effortlessly, like rain falling on open ground. This is the great paradox at the heart of everything. The chasing creates a closed fist. You're gripping, grasping, trying to capture and hold, and a closed fist cannot receive. It's too busy trying to take. But when you stop chasing, when you open your hand and release the need, you create an open palm, and an open palm can receive whatever life offers, not through force, through receptivity, through allowing. Buddhism teaches about non-attachment, not as indifference or not caring, but as a relaxed, open relationship with life. You can want things, you can work toward things, but you're not desperately clinging. You're not demanding. You're not making your okayness dependent on getting what you want. When you stop chasing happiness, you're practicing this non-attachment. You're saying, I'm okay whether happiness comes or not. I'm complete whether I feel joyful today or not. My worth doesn't depend on my emotional state. And this shift from chasing to allowing, from taking to receiving, this changes your entire energetic relationship with life. You stop being in a fight. Stop being in control mode. Stop trying to force reality to give you what you want. Instead, you become receptive, open, present. You notice the small joys already here, the warm sun on your face, the taste of your morning coffee, the sound of rain, the smile from a stranger, the quiet moment before sleep. These were always here, but you were too busy chasing bigger happiness to notice them. You were running past the small moments toward some imaginary destination where you'd finally be happy enough. When you stop chasing, you stop running past your life. You arrive in it. And in arriving, you discover what was waiting for you all along. Not the dramatic happiness you were chasing, but something steadier, quieter, more reliable. The contentment of being present, the peace of not needing things to be different, the subtle joy of simply being alive. This doesn't mean you stop having goals or preferences. It means you stop making your happiness dependent on getting them. You can want things and work toward them while being complete right now. You can have preferences while being okay if they don't manifest. You can desire while not being desperate. Buddhism calls this equanimity, the ability to meet life's ups and downs with a steady heart, not forcing everything to be up, not resisting the downs, just meeting what comes with presence and acceptance. And from this equanimity, from this stopped chasing and opened receiving, happiness flows more consistently than it ever did when you were desperately pursuing it, because you're not blocking it anymore. You're not creating the tension that pushes it away. You're simply open, present, allowing. The happiness you were chasing was always chasing you, but you were running in the opposite direction. The moment you stop running and turn around, you find it's been there all along, waiting for you to stop trying and start allowing. This is the ultimate truth. Happiness finds you when you stop trying to find it. Let me bring together the 6 truths we've discovered today. First, the chase is what pushes happiness away. Your desperate pursuit creates the very lack you're trying to fill. Second, forced positivity creates resistance to joy. Real happiness flows when you stop demanding it and start allowing all of experience. Third, letting go of should be happy brings peace. The pressure to feel a certain way is itself the problem. Fourth, trust life's natural rhythm over your control. Happiness comes and goes like everything else. Fighting this is exhausting. Fifth, aligned action beats desperate effort. Do what genuinely calls to you, not what you think should make you happy. And sixth, when you stop chasing, you start receiving. Open your hand, release the grip, and let happiness flow to you naturally. These aren't just ideas. They're invitations to a completely different relationship with joy, not as something to achieve through effort, but as something to allow through presence. The Buddha taught that the root of suffering is craving, not desire itself, but desperate clinging. When you chase happiness with that desperate energy, you create suffering. When you release the chase and open to what is, suffering dissolves. And in that dissolution, genuine happiness appears, not because you're trying, but because you've finally stopped blocking it. So today, what if you stopped trying to be happy? What if you just let yourself be exactly as you are? What if the chasing ended and the allowing began? Happiness is already following you. Turn around, stop running, let it catch up. If this truth touched you, share it with someone still chasing, and let me know in the comments. When did you feel happiest? Was it when you were trying or when you'd stopped trying? Thank you for being here. May you find the effortless joy that waits in the release of trying.